Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we're going to talk about Jean Grey today. Wait a minute, this is a comic book we're talking about here. This isn't video games. You're wrong. Well anyway, let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. Alright, first off, this is a representation of Jean Grey from Fall of X. I don't know what year this came out, but I believe this is fairly recent. Within probably the last decade, I would guess. Maybe even sooner. I haven't read comics since forever. It's been quite some time since I've done that. I used to enjoy them as a kid, you know, and into my very early 20s I enjoyed them. I was back in the 90s. I was around when Deadpool was introduced. I had the first, I think it was a New Mutants comic book that had him in it. It was when what's his name was doing it, the guy that can't draw feet. But yeah, you had Will Portacio doing X-Force, you had Jim Lee doing the X-Men, and I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, so that's about when I got off, shortly after that period of time. The X-Men had two teams, the gold team and the blue team, I believe it was. And it was great. There was some good stories and all that, but you know, I was aging out of reading comic books at that time. So anyway, this is Jean Grey. She is Marvel Girl originally, or the Phoenix as she became later on in the comic books. Famke Janssen played her in the original X-Men films back in the early 2000s, up until more recently, of course. And then Sophia Turner played her in the younger version of Jean Grey. Beautiful character, right? Beautiful character. So it's been leaked that she's going to be in the new Wolverine game that's coming out from Insomniac, and they took some liberties with her and kind of dressed her up for the modern audience. Let's take a look. Yeah. Sweet Baby Inc. involvement in Insomniac Games' upcoming Marvel's Wolverine game. Playable character Jean Grey gets the ugly treatment, and there it is. Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Well, I'm just gonna be straight up with you guys here. This is obviously not a finished product, okay? This is obviously not a finished product. So, because that looks like stuff from PlayStation 3 era, maybe, at the best. But we can see the DNA of where they're going with her, and we've got more pictures down below to show you. But yeah, let's get to that. Sweet Baby Inc. is confirmed to be working on Insomniac Games' upcoming Marvel's Wolverine game, as hacked video shows that Jean Grey has gotten the ugly treatment. Insomniac, if any of you hear this, and I know you'll never hear my voice, not today, maybe one day if things go well, but you're not going to hear me today. But if you do, I'm telling you, it's not too late to change the course of this ship and fix this. It's disgusting, it looks terrible, and it's going to bring nothing to the game. It's only going to destroy your potential sales. I'm not buying it if Sweet Baby Inc.'s involved with it, and I've loved Wolverine since I was like a kid. You know, I was like 10 years old. Well, no, when did he come out? I think 1984, 14 years old probably. Was that it? 82, 84, 84? Anyway, whenever he first came out, he was out in the Hulk, and then, you know, he showed up in the X-Men. I've loved Wolverine ever since then. It was my favorite X-Men. When Hugh Jackman took on the role, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, man, they did a great job with it. And it only got better throughout, you know, his tenure as Wolverine. He became Wolverine. If you go back and watch the original X-Men, he's a little on the cheesier side. But by X2, you know, he was kind of nailing it. And you know, but in any case, video of gameplay from Marvel's Wolverine was hacked in December 2023, with Insomniac Games confirming the hack. The company wrote on X, "We are aware that stolen data, including personal information belonging to our employees, former employees, and independent contractors. It also includes early development details about Marvel's Wolverine for PlayStation 5. It added, "Marvel's Wolverine continues as planned. The game is in early production and will no doubt greatly evolve through development, as do all our plans." So Insomniac, evolve past this, please. Do not release Jean Grey as the way you have her now. She's absolutely awful. The hacked footage revealed there's gameplay that allows players to play as Jean Grey. That's interesting. It also revealed character designs for Jean Grey that made the character look more like Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy than any Marvel Comics artist depiction of the famous member of the X-Men, let alone live-action depictions such as Famke Janssen and Sophie Turner. Former World of Warcraft team leader Mark Kern, aka Grums, you may have heard of him, pointed this out, commenting, "Look at what happened to Jean Grey from Insomniac Games' Marvel Wolverine. From these leaked early screenshots of the first beautiful model to the masculine, world-weary version we have today, they are ruining Marvel." Jean, that's her. Not only did Kern point out the difference in the images of Jean Grey, but he also shared confirmation that the video game consulting company Sweet Baby Stink is indeed working on the game. Kern noted, and yes, Marvel's Wolverine is a Sweet Baby Inc. game. That alone makes me not buy it right there. And I won't ever buy it. I don't, when it goes on discount, no, I am not giving a single penny of my money to anyone working with Sweet Baby Inc. And I recommend you do the same. If you are tired of this kind of nonsense in video games, this woke BS, this DEI nonsense, this uglification of characters, the race swapping, the feminizing, the absolute destruction of IPs that we grew up with and that we loved, and watching them get torn apart and destroyed, like what's going on to Star Wars right now, it's just absolutely pathetic. If you're tired of that, don't give them a penny of your money. That's the best way you fight this, is with your wallet, because if enough people don't buy it and it makes no money, and that happens time and time again, these companies are going to learn that they can't do this. They can't crap on the people that they rely on to buy their products. They can't continue to do that. It's absolutely idiotic. So, the post reads Thwip and also Snicked. Thwip is Spider-Man shooting his webs, and the Snicked is, of course, Wolverine's claws. Those are from the comic books. So excited and grateful to say we're part of the teams bringing Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine to life with the amazing folks at Insomniac Games. It's been a truly marvelous experience. This was 9921. God, what a garbage company. I hope you guys just get destroyed, disbanded, and cast to the four winds, Sweet Baby Inc., because you destroy everything you touch. Returning to the topic of Jean Grey being made uglier, Kern rejected arguments attempting to explain the phenomenon. We were told it was the difficulty of scanning actors, or just tricks of light and bad screen caps. We were told we were incels for even questioning it. As a game developer, I know this was BS. As gamers, you know it was BS from comparisons with Asian games. Yesterday, we found out a principal artist, read this as lead, at major studios including Naughty Dog, Rocksteady, and Respawn told the truth. And this is fascinating, right? So let's pull it up right here on Twitter. Something big happened yesterday, and most people missed it. Every theory we had about the uglification of women in AAA gaming turned out to be true. Look at what happened to Jean Grey from Insomniac Games' Marvel's Wolverine, yada, yada, yada. And it's a Sweet Baby Inc. game. We're told it was the difficulty of scanning. Yesterday we found out. So here we go. This is the artist down here, but let's take a look at these pictures first, okay? This is awful. I don't know what this is. This is not a good picture at all. But again, some of this stuff is very rough, very early development, I guess. But this, I mean, yeah, this is not a final product. Obviously not. His mask isn't complete. His nose isn't covered, whatever. Got hair coming through his costume itself and all that. But it's the squaring off of the jaw. It's always that way, right? Totally gone. The weird placement of the eyes, they're way too close together. The big nose. This is not a representation of any Jean Grey I've ever seen. This looks like the guy from GameSpot that yells, "It is man," or like someone else mentioned, Kathleen Kennedy. And I even saw someone else compare it to Melinda Gates. They turned Jean Grey into Melinda Gates. They made her ugly, old, and rough looking. I mean, it's absolutely horrible. I don't mind an older Jean Grey if the story suits it. That's cool. Characters can age. I didn't even mind the older Nicole in Dead Space when they did the remake of Dead Space, because Isaac himself, the actor that played Isaac, was older. They used his face. They scanned him. it made kind of sense. She still, was a good-looking character and all that, but she was older. She looked more like a doctor or scientist and all that. To me, that one fit. It could have been part of the uglification that people talk about and all that, but me, that one worked. An older Jean Grey would work, but not a Jean Grey that's a man. That does not work. I mean, look at this. The shape of the body, the fupa, is that a wiener lump? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going on here, but she's not built like a woman. She's built like a man dressed as a woman. It's absolutely sick. The face, the square face, very, very manly. She looks like, it's absolutely awful. There's the old Sweet Baby Ink. Garbage right there. But yeah, moving on. So this is the tweet he's talking about from the Inside Guy. Del Walker. So he says, there's been a handful of times I've pitched black women characters that look like this. Then after 10 iterations, the concept or model comes back without a speck of the original beauty I pitched. They come back like this. I'm not talking about mild changes. I'm talking about pose, aura, style, softness, age, flair. I hate giving Gamergate men fuel, that's us, but it's very difficult to pitch beautiful women or vain black women in games without them coming back looking like grocery store aunties. There is room for both. And for clarity, he said, this is just an example to convey the point. Right? And that's a major difference. She almost looks like Mrs. Freeze there if we painted her blue. Or Miss Freeze, or whatever the hell it's going to be here in the future. Why not make her black and then blue? I don't know. But yeah, this guy Del Walker is not, quote unquote, one of us. He's not against this woke stuff. In fact, I believe he's pretty liberal here. Let's see. But he's worked with Naughty Dog, Rocksteady Games, Respawn, worked with some big games there, right? Seen in Forbes, Yahoo News, Tech Radar, and all that. I appreciate your honesty, bro. That is fantastic. Even if it's not something that serves, quote unquote, your team, whatever that may be here in the whole culture war thing. I appreciate your honesty, and I have mad respect for you. I wish you well in this industry, and I hope this doesn't come back and hurt you in the end there. But we know Sweet Baby Ink was involved with Marvel's Wolverine. Let's talk about some other stuff. Oh, yeah, he's got a whole spiel here. You know what? I'm going to link... I think I can link to his actual post here or something like that. I'll give you a link right to him or his post, whatever I can do, in the comments below, as well as the actual story itself. But there's so much to this, and he breaks it down very, very well. But yeah, this is... He responded to a user, now we're talking about this fellow again, Del Walker, who stated, dude, a friend of mine, an Asian woman, was just telling me about how this happens to her when she designs Asian women for Western games. They always have her work redesigned by Western artists to look more stereotypical than pat themselves on the back for good representation. Walker replied, yes, they also assume adding stereotypical ethno features with a blunt force is some sort of Hail Mary when a range of diversity exists inside diversity. He's not wrong. And it's sad that they're doing this. I mean, it really is. I mean, look at that. I don't know if this is an actual character that they changed that much. If it is, that's criminal. That's a beautiful woman right there. Why would they make her character look like that? I mean, and again, not every time when you hire an actor, sometimes they're just a voice actor, right? Sometimes they're just a voice actor for a game. I get that. A lot of times, though, they're doing mocap and facial cap and all that, especially with the way games are getting more and more realistic these days. Now, they might make changes, but we see guys like Keanu Reeves in games. We've seen Rosario Dawson recently, Idris Elba, a lot of famous, big names in the industry, in the acting industry in there. What's his name there? From Stranger Things. It's eluding me right now. But we've seen a lot of these guys in the games. And they're captured perfectly. You recognize them when you see them. When you see Idris Elba in Cyberpunk, you're like, that's Idris Elba. That's Johnny. That's Keanu Reeves there. Johnny, someone to call him Johnny Silverhand. That's Keanu Reeves. That's, you see him and you know him. I wouldn't know her seeing that, but it is what it is. Let's look a little bit more here. So this is from Concord, that new shooter that's coming out to PlayStation. I think it's a PlayStation exclusive, 4-person hero shooter. Like, we need another one of those. This is going to fail, but this is one of the characters there. This is how they want to portray women these days in the Western world, right? This is Lizzo in a can. I mean, it's absolutely despicable. Here's Forspoken. Yeah, here's our girl. What was her name from? I can't remember her name now, but another awful game and terrible character design. She was so awful. That one, you know, it wasn't as much as she was ugly. She wasn't really ugly, but the actual design of the character wasn't that well done. Her teeth and mouth looked weird. Looked out of date, considering this was like a Square Enix game that was brand new, what, a year ago or so, a year and a half ago. It was awful, but the dialogue was, oh my god, the dialogue was in the toilet for that one. But it just seems like everything that these guys touch turns to crap, you know? And they think they're helping. You know, Sweet Baby Inc. thinks, we're doing a good thing with this representation. We're helping the people that aren't heard get heard. Actually, you're not. What you're doing is you're building resentment within the gaming community. You're making people dislike the very people you think you want to prop up. Not as a whole, right? But it's gotten to a point now where when I see a game and I see the character, the lead character is a black woman, I instantly assume like, this is going to be woke garbage. It's going to be terrible. And it probably is, to be fair, because of the way DEI works in the industry. Not necessarily true, but probably true, you know? And it's just absolutely ridiculous. And that's because it's been forced on us so much. We see it constantly all the time. Commercials, television, movies. You know, everything is just propping up this one stereotype of a character, the strong black woman. It's crazy. Now, there's white women too. You know, we see that too. We see all kinds of representation. I mean, you look at the latest Star Wars thing and it looks like a clown show from like a Benetton ad from the 80s. And it's absolutely hilarious. It's like, well, can you check off any more boxes? I mean, really? You know, it's just weird. Absolutely weird. So what do you think of Jean Grey? It is, ma'am. I know, again, that's an early rendering. It's going to change. It's going to look better in the long run, but I don't know by how much, to be honest with you. We saw them do it with Aloy. We saw them do it with Angela in Silent Hill 2. Mary Jane looks horrible in the second Spider-Man game. That's from Insomniac, these same guys. We saw the new Fable characters. That looks like I don't know what that thing looks like. She looks like a chewed up old rag doll. Absolutely terrible. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Do you think DEI is helping? And if it is, let me know how. Please tell me a game, a movie, a television show, anything that was made better because of forced diversity, please. Natural diversity, I'm all for it. Great, wonderful, boom. I'm playing a game right now. I'm going to be turning out a review of it soon. It's an indie game that just came out. Absolutely loving it. The setting and all that doesn't allow for diversity very much, but there is some in there, and it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel cheesy, But I'm telling you, I'm so hyper aware of this stuff that when I did see the diversity in this game, I was kind of like, are we going this way or not? But no, it was cool. It in the end, it was all right. It was like, all right, we're cool here. It's not, because it looked like it could go a certain direction, but it didn't. It didn't. So don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications. I'll see y'all next time. Until then, peace.